Hello and welcome to this Eyes of Harmony podcast. On this podcast, we talk everything Doctor Who, old, new, and all the kind of upcoming news, though there's none at the minute. So,
No.
do all those usual things of, liking, subscribing, or don't, who cares at this point. But, the world's ending, so there we go. Yeah, so there's going to be skip points in the description below if you want to jump around topics. But to be honest, there isn't too much news going on at the minute. But
No.
the big thing, which I kind of saw this week, which caught my attention, is Big Finish Masterful, which is basically next year, January, is 50 years since the Master first appeared in Doctor Who. So they're doing a big finish crossover,
Finish.
a big finish crossover, with Jeffrey Beeves, Mark Gatiss, who apparently Mark Gatiss has played a version of a Master, and this I didn't know.
In Big Finish, yeah. In Big Finish, before there was, this was like way back, like very early on, but they used Mark Gatiss as their incarnation of the Master for a while.
Crazy! I did not know this.
And then they brought him back with the with the War Master.
Yeah,
they
I
had
saw
like
that
a
one.
crossover
Yeah.
between them.
Yeah, cool. Where does he fit into the timeline? Did they say? Or
They were vague in the promotions, and I haven't actually listened to it myself, so I can't
Interesting.
say.
Okay, yeah. So Michelle Gomez is doing it. Derek Jacobi, Alex
Yep.
McQueen, Milo Parker, Eric Roberts, and also John Sim. John Sim is.
Which I think is his first.
Yeah, this is going to be his first, and the artwork looks awesome. And yeah, basically the kind of summary is the Master's finally done it. He's won. He summons his other selves to a celebration of his ultimate victory. And they come across time and dimensions, but he's forgotten to invite someone. And Missy's not happy. Sexism against himself. Has the Master really conquered the universe, or has something more awful been unleashed? Something that all the Masters cannot stop. Missy is determined to reveal the truth, because one fact about the Master's existence never changes. No one can trust the Master, not even the Master. Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So there's a special box set edition which only 3,000 copies are going to be made. But it looks very cool. So it looks like we've got a really young version of a Master here, and he's wearing kind of like the Time Lord outfits which they wore in the War Games. Like when they're like on trial. And I'm guessing he's supposed to be the first incarnation of the Master, I guess. And I'm guessing that's Milo Parker who's playing that. But it looks very, very cool. And I'm very, very interested in maybe getting this one. I think like the Master's so complex that I think, it's kind of, it's crazy that World, Enough and Time and the Doctor Falls is the only like multi-Master story that we've had. Like,
Yeah.
I was so excited for World, Enough and Time and the Doctor Falls to have both of them on screen, and it was very awesome. I feel like we didn't quite get enough of them. It left me wanting more, which I guess is better than it being too much and rubbish. It was great when they were on screen together, and I really did enjoy it. But I want to see more interactions, definitely on screen, of multi-Masters. And obviously Sasha Dewan it can't be in this multi-Master thing because they don't have the rights yet.
Not yet, no.
So it's kind of up to Missy, which is cool. It looks really, really awesome, and I think it's gonna be great. But yeah, I think it's gonna be good. Do you think you'll get it?
Maybe. I mean, I've got such a backlog on Big Finish stuff right now that I do need to just listen to what I've got before I keep investing in new ones. But yeah, I mean, this sounds like a really one that'd be right up my alley in the future. So
yeah, it's cool. I think, like, actually looking back, maybe like the Master might be my favorite Doctor Who villain in some ways. I think there's just something, I don't know, like the Master's more, I don't know, slippery, I guess, is the way I
Yeah.
describe him, because the Daleks are so, while they're an awesome presence and everything, they're
Mm.
always, this is what they are. But the
Yes.
Master, has emotions, and I think that's what makes him far more interesting as a villain
Mm.
than the Cybermen. And though obviously the lone Cyberman had emotions, which was pretty cool. Sadly, just
Mm.
not used great. But like, I think maybe monsters with more emotions are more interesting than those without. Like when you're so
Um,
one note in what you're doing, I think they're more interesting. I mean, like the devil in the Impossible Planet and the Satan's Pit, like, he uses trickery and all of this.
mm.
It was awesome. Like, it's still one which sticks out. I remember that two-parter terrified me as a kid. Like, that one freaked me out, especially someone who was still at the time, I guess, as a kid, somewhat religious. So like, it
Yeah.
being the devil was like, oh shit. Like,
Yeah. I get what you mean by that. Although I think that inherently for me, and the reason why the Cybermen are kind of my favorites is because of the lack of emotions. It's because it's almost more monstrous when something just is so cold and so like restricted in that it just is, like it's so cold and calculating. But yeah, there's a semblance that might have been, once like us, like kind of our ultimate end is what kind of for me makes it so kind of compelling in the first place.
I guess, yeah, yeah, it's like, what would you not want to come up against? And I guess it's like,
Mm.
well, if you put it into like real life, slippery people, people who can change and always
Mm.
out for their own good, but might trick you into it. That's more scary for me.
Mm.
I guess, because it's like you could trust this person completely, and then they pull the 180 on you.
Yeah.
I mean, like Bill and the Sim Master in World Enough of Time. She completely trusted him.
Mm.
Um, and it was an awesome reveal at the end.
Yeah.
But like, you completely trusted him, so that when it changed, and he was the master, like, that catches you out way more. Like a Cyberman just wouldn't do that, I guess. So it's like,
Uh,
they're so to the point that from the start what they want, and that's terrifying. But at least you know what you're up against. You know they're not going to change, so you can be quite
uh,
definitive
mm.
with the way that you respond to them, which is you basically destroy the fuck out of them, and stop them at at all costs. But for the Master, not only is there a layered friendship level, but it's like, you like, especially with Missy, like trying to understand, and the whole Doctor thing through series 10, which was probably
Mm.
one of the best modern Who kind of arcs for a character,
Yeah.
which was believable. You generally
Mm.
bought into it, and she was so close to changing, and she did, but the Doctor will never know that.
Mm.
Which I think is fantastic, that the Doctor would never know that. And obviously Missy would regenerate and become someone else, so the new incarnation of the Master would never even say, unless Missy
No.
is the last one and she dies there.
Yeah.
Which is completely, doable. I mean, like, it would be nice one day to have a definitive timeline of
Yeah.
which
It
Master
would.
comes when.
Mm.
Because, like, the current Master could be right after John Sim. Like,
Mm.
like, it could be that, and like Missy is the final one, and she perishes, and that is the end of the Master.
I mean,
Which,
there isn't enough references currently in terms of like where, from the master's perspective, of kind of where. So it could even be earlier. I mean, who knows, right?
exactly.
Because they haven't really referenced those events or anything like kind of around there.
I mean, he has to come after the Time War because he knew where Gallifrey was, and
Yeah.
he would have
Well,
known
yeah,
that.
that.
So he has to be after Sim, but it's anywhere between
Yeah.
Sim
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Gomez. Really, he could be anywhere there, or he could be after Missy. So it's very interesting trying to where are they? Who's placed where? Did Delgado go straight into Ainsley? Ainley even?
Well,
Uh,
he Well, kind of.
Oh no, yeah, no, there was the Dying Masters one there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Never
Yeah.
mind. Um,
I mean, that kind of is the same incarnation, but it's just
yeah, so it goes
Moffat.
from Delgado to the, I guess the
Yeah, Ainsley. Yeah,
Dying. Yeah, so Ainsley. Then
dying isn't a separate
yeah,
incarnation.
it's the
That's
same
just
incarnation.
the same. Yeah, just
Then Ainley goes to, I guess, Roberts.
no, there's definitely incarnations between that. Particularly at the beginning of the TV movie, that is I think a different actor and
A
a
different,
different
yeah, it
supposed to be
is. It is
incarnation. There's a massive gap there, and I think there are separate incarnations between that.
okay.
And
Including
then
Alexander McQueen. I guess he Alex McQueen has to have come
I guess
before
that's
that.
where
Then
that's where some of these big Finnish ones I think are implied to be.
yeah,
Um,
between Ainley and
and
the
then
movie.
after Roberts potentially
Then
is
there's
where the gaps are, where I
yeah
think we could somewhat filled it in.
Arthur Roberts. It's interesting because I mean that means that Delgado's Doctor is the final incarnation, which means there's obviously 12. Well,
Yeah, before him.
yeah, 12 before him, which is interesting.
Hmm.
But I don't think they'd ever fill that gap. I think that's just left. But after Delgado, though, it'd be nice to have a timeline, or well, just a definitive order of which masters when. I mean, it's probably out there somewhere. Someone's somewhat worked it out.
There's probably probably something, but
It's in, but yeah, I like the master. I hope they kind of do something to celebrate his like 50 years. Because
I mean they're doing quite a few. I mean, there's not only that for Big Finish, but they're also doing another Master spin-off with just with Eric Roberts, and there's another one which they're doing, which is just simply Master with an exclamation point, with Eric Roberts.
I'm guessing he's gonna have that American accent then.
Probably. And then they got like the next edition of the War Master coming out with Paul McGann in it, and
So they're doing
they
a lot
got
of
quite
master.
a few things coming out. Yeah, they're doing an awful lot of Master.
I wonder if
right
like
now.
what I mean though in like real, not real, like the actual series on screen.
Right. It's kind of difficult right now. But yeah, I mean, that'd be cool if they actually did something to market on screen. But since we're not getting a series, he'll probably. Well, it depends on what they had planned, I suppose.
Oh, I think there was someone said something somewhere. I think it was there was a tweet or something. I read it somewhere. It was like by someone who works on it, and it was they're going to start filming in the fall, and it'll be ready for fall 2021. I think is yeah. So we're back to like October.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah. Again, that was kind of unavoidable in this instance.
Yeah and no. I think they said that they hadn't been affected by the whole COVID thing. Like this hadn't disrupted anything. So it's like taking enough a year and a half for 10 episodes. Okay.
Yeah. All right then.
How do they manage it every year and then now then suddenly it's not doable?
Who knows? I don't. I have no idea at this point.
I guess at least we got Captain Jack to look forward to, because I think that's definitely going to happen in this series.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's getting annoying because it's such a long wait in between series now. Like, it kind of just kills your buzz, doesn't it? I feel like knowing that it's only a year, well, even less than a year by the time the series finishes, because it's about 9 months from when the series finishes, so you know that you don't have that long to wait. But I mean, I know we've got the Dalek special coming up, which is cool. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But beyond that, there isn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing, which was another Big Finish story, is that they are doing a lost. They are like going to be recording a lost kind of Tom Baker story script, which was written by TV producer John Lloyd, who was sharing a flat with Douglas Adams at the time. John Lloyd, most known for stuff like Blackadder, and he was a producer on like Blackadder and
That's cool.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and things. And he finished doing that. So that was interesting. A story called The Doomsday Contract.
I think I've heard of that one loosely, but I don't know too much about it. So I heard that it was something at one point, but didn't fall through. A bit like how Stephen Fry was supposed to be writing an episode of Doctor Who back in like 2006, but then he just couldn't do it. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is from the Radio Times. Chris Tribnall revealed in a recent Doctor Who column, post-production continues on Revolution of the Daleks, he wrote. Our brilliant teams are working remotely on visual effects shots and sending them in. Nothing brightens the day like a few FX shots in your inbox, no matter how early the stage it's at. Still, overall, Doctor Who is in better shape than many other TV shows at the moment, with the next special already in the can and upcoming filming scheduled yet to be disputed even. So keep hopeful. Writing and planning for the next series continues apace. Chibnall added, stories are forming, writers are writing, conversations keep going, plans continue to be hatched. So yeah, pretty much nothing's been affected by this COVID thing currently.
Yeah, currently.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's a lot of on-set stuff, and it's not. While your crew is somewhat decent sized, as long as they've been, they're okay and they're not ill, you're pretty much staying within that small group of people anyway. While you're on set, I probably have about, I don't know, depends, maybe like 60 people on a day or something are shooting, maybe, depending on what's going on. But as long as they do like the TARDIS set scenes, you wouldn't need loads of people. So you could kind of social distance as you did the acting anyway. If you just stayed indoors between shoots, then you're not going to meet anyone and they're going to have it,
True.
And hopefully by the time it's September, it'll be done. I mean, if they're scheduling stuff now, it's just, it seems like it's on track anyway. Like this is what it would be doing anyway, regardless. So I guess we see. I wonder if companions are leaving though in Revolution of the Daleks. That's a big question. I think it's quite likely in some ways because it's like, why would they film it so early on for like a Christmas special? And it's like, well, if actors want to leave, that would be the time to do it then, because obviously
2 seasons seems about normal. Because in
the Timeless Children even, which makes it interesting because it makes it sound like multiple. But I guess it's all the incarnate generations of a Doctor. I don't know, but basically you couldn't really have a companion leave at the end of that story without like there being too much runtime, because at the minute, like obviously they kind of left. They're like on Earth, abandoned in the TARDIS house. Yeah. And the Doctor's trapped in prison. Like they couldn't just end it like that because the Doctor would go back and get them. So the companion leaving usually has to be a verbal. I'm gonna go. So it's it'll be interesting to see.
Well,
I think maybe one of them might stay, and I think that will be Yaz. If any of them do.
If any of them are, Yaz.
And I hope they just leave it like that. I hope they don't try and replace the gap left by Graham and Ryan, because I think it's not needed.
But we really shouldn't be having 3 companions again.
Especially in such a limited run series. It's not like, Like this is the thing. Like American series, they can have big casts because they do like 22 episodes in a series.
Mm.
So it's I don't get Americans. They put so much money into their TV and it's crazy. But they do well. Like
Yeah,
it
exactly.
clearly is like if you just put the budget into it, you can make it
That is
solid.
sort of what Doctor Who should be aiming for, really.
It should be like
Maybe not quite American
it should
budget,
be
but like
13
it's got
episodes in a series.
it has the presence and the popularity to be.
It's like I wouldn't want it to go over to America, but if it could be
No,
produced like an American show, it would
yeah,
be
exactly. That's what
great.
I mean. I think Moffat was saying this as well. It's like it's going to struggle to compete going forward if it doesn't, change it
So what are we going
up
to do?
and
Cut the
compete with these
amount of
American.
episodes per series? It's just ridiculous, isn't it? It's like just you have to be inventive with some stories. Keep them minimalistic. Keep them easier to film in a short amount of time.
Mm.
Actors that they're good actors. That's why you hire them so they can do scenes in not many takes. Like it's fine. Yeah, I don't know.
I think inherently in some ways, like I wouldn't want Doctor Who to move anywhere else or anything, but
No.
like the inherent structure of the BBC somewhat limits its potential, just in terms
Yeah,
of the way
I
it
think
gets in the
so.
funding and the way it it could be so much more if it did have that sort of American kind of backing to it and stuff, but yeah, it's difficult, but.
It's tough, isn't it? If you could find an outside, like, partner up with a.
I mean, that's what they did with the TV movie, but of course, then they wanted all this other stuff in it.
Yeah, but obviously it would be. I guess then you need just a creative lead, on the BBC side who, knows Doctor Who and would keep it on track. But
That's what they tried to do with the TV movie.
I guess so. But to be fair, they had, the Seventh Doctor regenerate into the Eighth. There's a lot of good in the TV movie. It's just not
Which,
quite.
well, that was good from the perspective of fans, but in terms of like introducing it to a new audience, that was probably like quite a confusing, weird thing, which probably ultimately hurt the whole thing.
Yeah, I guess so. But from a fan's perspective, years down the line, it's good.
Sure.
But I get what you mean.
Sure, but
And to be honest,
also,
I'm glad.
yeah,
I'm glad it didn't pick up anyway because they were just going to redo stories, weren't they? And just
yeah,
which just
yeah, that was
wasn't going to be
yeah,
great.
no.
But yeah, I think like that's the thing. It's like Doctor Who should at least be 13 episodes, or like 12 was fine. Like even losing one episode was fine, but going down to 10 was just like that was just a kick in the balls.
And again, I don't think that the visual effects and the quality of storytelling really have risen up enough to where you can justify it. Really,
And even then, I'd prefer. I don't know. I don't know. I don't need lots of space shots. I don't need all of that. Like
we
that's
were
the
getting
thing.
plenty of space shots before. Why is it so difficult now?
I know that
It
again.
doesn't look that much better. Like you look at series 10 and then you look at series 11 and the CG effects don't look much better. In fact, you look at some of the shots in the last series and they actually look worse.
Yeah.
It's like, what is the justification here again?
It's like they think that, yeah, it's the CG doesn't. It helps add to the world. It doesn't make the world. Like the
No,
story is what makes the world.
no, yeah, exactly.
I mean, like Kablam is apart from maybe one bit, but like it works. Like the story, it was simple sets, but you still buy into it. Time Heist works very effectively with minimal CG. Like it's not the best, the outside of a bank, but and even inside of a bank's a bit but when they try and do the wide shot and then zoom in, but like it doesn't matter. It doesn't take away from the whole story. I very fondly enjoy Time Heist. Like the Teller was an awesome animatronic monster, and it was great. And they just used mainly hallways and moody lighting, but it bloody works so well. And I enjoyed Time Heist in like, a large amount.
And again, even the stories where there were more CG elements to it, I don't think it ever looked bad considering its TV budget. Sure, we weren't getting like film quality effects, but like it looked what you'd expect. It didn't look particularly out of place. It was perfectly solid. And now it's just like, I guess, again, it just doesn't feel like there's been an improvement, really. Not much, if any. And yet again, like I said, we've had to reduce the episode count in order to accommodate that.
Yeah,
But and like in a lot of these stories, there isn't even as like there are several stories in the last series where there isn't even that much CG.
exactly.
So it's like,
It's
what?
like, like Midnight was super easy to make. It's just think of ideas like that don't need all this. There were plenty in freaking
Well, again, it
series.
didn't even last series. Like I said, there wasn't even like sure there were a few stories where there was like more CG than others, but if you look at the overall series, like it still was primarily sets and physical effect. Like I don't think there's that much more CG in the last series than there was previously. I don't see it.
I mean, also for like time, space stuff, it's like models. And did you see? It's interesting, The Mandalorian, how they did a lot of like sets. Is they just had these big screens which had
The
like
big
the
yeah.
background. What about
I
something like
saw
that?
that.
Like, because then it's in the camera, and when
Mm.
it looks so
Well,
much better because it's kind of in the camera. So it's like it was filmed there on set, and
yeah,
I get it's probably expensive, but as technology gets older, it gets cheaper. Like maybe that's
sure.
something to do one day, Doctor Who wise. Especially if you did an awesome TARDIS shot, where they're flying in space, open the doors, and there's, one of the best shots actually from, I think it's Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, is when Brian is having his just packed lunch watching the Earth. There's this lovely sweeping shot from behind the TARDIS to him just eating his lunch, just dangling out of a TARDIS. And it's a shot that just sticks out completely, just how beautiful it was, just as a
Yeah.
concept. It was just such a peaceful moment. And he was fantastic. It was a shame that they didn't have Brian in it for longer.
It's a shame he didn't have his they didn't film the
Epilogue,
scene at the
yeah.
end. Yeah. I
'Cause
think that's the biggest shame with that. Was just
yeah, because he's a fantastic actor. He does Father Brown as well, he's awesome in that. He's so good. His facial expressions are great. But yeah, like it's shots like that, and I think maybe if you did that screen technique like they did in Mandalorian, like maybe it's
yeah.
something
Although
to
the
look into.
Mandalorian's quite pioneering in regards to that, really, because like not a lot of things
Well,
use
no,
it
but I mean, why
at this
not
point.
pioneer? I mean, if they're spending ages on GFX, at least you
I
wouldn't
mean,
have to pay
Doctor
as
Who's been
much.
a lot of things at this time. But like beyond like when it was first broadcast, I don't think it could ever really been called pioneering.
Yeah,
It's always
but
kind of a few steps behind, but the quality of the storytelling was kind of what made up for that.
yeah,
Like you look at like what Doctor Who was doing in the 80s, and then you see like stuff like Star Trek: The Next Generation. It's not even a contest.
yeah,
Like
it's
it's so
cringy.
far behind.
Yeah, yikes. But it's like, why is it like so far behind that? Especially like when any Tom, Dick, Harry, Jane,
I think that
and
goes back to the
anyone
whole
can.
BBC issue. I think
Yeah,
that is
funding.
inherently kind of the budgets that the BBC provide them, and kind of holds it back
Yeah.
for being anything beyond that. So in a way, it's kind of a miracle that it's managed to continue to do as well as it has done for as long as it has.
Yeah, it just needs backing by another company, I guess. I
But
think.
then
Well, you
then
got.
that brings the problem of, well, how much are they going to take away from the show? How much are they going to demand? Because each of these.
Yeah,
I mean,
when you
that's the
get producers
thing.
in charge. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
guess it's just got to be somewhat like the Spider-Man deal at the minute with Sony and Marvel. Like it seems it's somehow going incredibly well.
Yeah, although there are very strict limitations in that, to where Marvel has to pretty much reinvent every character they bring in from Spider-Man in order to fulfill the contract. Because if the character is too much like it was in its original version, then Marvel has a co-ownership stake in that. And if it's kind of complicated, but basically, like, the characters have to be different in order to justify them being different characters, so that Marvel then don't co-own that character, so that Sony wouldn't have to pay Marvel in order to use the original incarnations of those characters in their own projects.
So, like, what?
So, like, if they'd used the original version of the Vulture in Spider-Man: Homecoming with like the spandex suit and like like if they used that, Marvel would have a stake in that in the character, which is like the original base version. If it's too similar to the original version of the character, so they had to change it so that that can be defined as a separate entity enough to where they can co-own that version of the character, but not the original version, so that Sony can continue to use those original versions of the characters without
having projects like Morbius and so on.
Well, yeah, in Morbius or their animated films. And
so is
whatnot.
that why like the Rhino was like a weird machine in the Amazing Spider-Man 2 then?
No, because that was before the deal.
Oh, right. So it's only if it's from the deal onwards. All right.
Yeah.
So then they're probably not going to do the Green
Because Sony
Goblin.
owns all the original versions of the characters. But yeah, that's why everything's so different. That's why Spider-Man acts different. That's why MJ is a completely different character. That's why everything's so radically different, and why certain characters have like different names sometimes and whatnot. It's so they can be sufficiently different enough to where Marvel then don't own these characters.
Makes sense. But I guess that's like an ownership thing. I guess if you did a deal with Doctor Who, it would be completely like the BBC obviously owns Doctor Who, so it would be like BBC would get kind of final say, but this company coming in would be able to push it and put more budget in. And I guess obviously they get money back for that, but then. Is it like depends on what like kind of channels you could air it on? Do deals that way?
That's difficult though, because like, what would these external characters, external companies get out of it? Because they're not like getting the standard kind of viewership money in as such. They're not like getting ad money and such, and like building up like revenue from that.
Well, I guess
the BBC, of course, are working for the taxpayers, for the license holders that pay, for the TV license people that pay them. So, like, what would an external company coming in really get out of it?
Yeah. And like the issue is like, because obviously BritBox now, it couldn't be pairing up with enough a streaming service. Like if they didn't do BritBox, like they could have had like a deal with Netflix or something that after episodes air, they go straight onto Netflix, for Netflix users, as well as, and not go on iPlayer straight away. There'd be a delay. So it's like, well, Netflix users can then rewatch the episodes or get to watch the episodes, and have it like that way round. And then it goes on iPlayer after the series is completely aired, something like that. So like they get like first dibs at like streaming it then, and then and people would watch it, because then if they missed it live on BBC One, then they'd have to catch up on Netflix rather than on iPlayer. Some like weird deal like that. People make strange deals, but obviously they got BritBox now, so they're not gonna...
BBC every company wants their own streaming service now.
I know. I wonder how BritBox is doing.
I haven't heard much about it, period. So
yeah,
but who even knows at this point? Maybe it'll go the same way as the BBC shop.
Oh man, heartbreak.
Yeah. Well, that was only interesting, the BBC shop, for the shows that like previously they wouldn't show because like they were too kind of offensive in modern era to kind of put on anymore. That was interesting because like several shows were like, okay, we'll put that on here. We'll say it's controversial, but like just so people, like for archival purposes, that was kind of quite a good thing, I think.
Yeah, looking at BritBox, it's a Daily Mail article is it struggles to keep its viewers after the 30-day free trial. So basically people are using it for the 30 days and then getting rid of it.
Yeah.
Which sounds about right.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah.
Because who wants like a billion different streaming? I mean, that's going to be the inherent issue. So many companies are going to die just because like they're like, rather than trying to become a part of the few streaming services, they want that
They
it
want the
already
whole
exists and are
cake,
popular.
not a
They want the
slice of
whole
it.
cake. They want their own like slice of it, and like it's not gonna work for a lot of these companies. It's just
Yeah.
not. Like it's gonna ruin a lot of them, or like
Like
it,
it's like Apple TV. I'm like, is anything really interesting been on there? There's one which slightly interests me, which is the one with Chris Evans, I think. There's that one where it's like their kid does a murder or something, and they're trying to like keep him out of jail. I think it's based on a true story, and it looks interesting. But yeah, I mean, we got Netflix, which obviously is kind of currently kind of the king.
yes,
Disney
especially now.
Disney Plus is coming up well
Yeah,
behind it.
it's justified its existence.
It's got enough of its own shit to be stable. Obviously the whole Disney library, all of 20th Century Fox library.
Well,
And
they haven't put all of it up. But
original. Well, yeah, slowly but surely, and they're fixing the Simpsons 4x3. Yeah,
finally.
but there's obviously all the Marvel shit's coming. So there's enough going on there that you're like, yes, like it warrants it. I'm happy with it. As content, I think maybe it's probably a bit better for families. I think if I had kids, obviously it would be a fantastic one because you could put on any kids film and it would be good. But also there's a nice level of there's like kind of family content as well, so you could introduce younger kids to older content, kind of
yeah, exactly. It's
like
good for
Star
that.
Wars and stuff, and it's great. It's a perfect platform to kind of introduce all these guys, to families to
Yeah.
these
I hope
characters.
I hope because it is a streaming service and for its fries for content. I hope in terms of Star Wars that we do finally get the unspecialized cuts, I guess, for it on Disney Plus at some point.
Yeah, I mean, like yes, special cuts. I mean, like we just found out recently the HBO
Yeah.
Zack Snyder cut, obviously of Justice League,
Yeah.
which is
Which
interesting
is
that's
interesting.
happened.
Well, because that is inherently like apparently the only reason that was greenlit was a direct response to the Mandalorian, and it could potentially end up being like a split into a series.
What the Zack
Like,
Snyder's cut?
yeah. So the thing about it is that they currently have like a 4-hour assembly cut, kind of, and that's going to be the basis for it because there is like a 2.5-hour Snyder cut, but that's not really what's going to be used. The new Snyder cut's going to be an entirely new thing that Zack Snyder's going to make from the 4-hour, and what's going to happen with that? I mean, they could even be filming new stuff for it. They're not sure whether or not they're going to release it as like a 4-hour like extended thing, or whether or not it would be like a 6-part series. It could be.
I think it would be better to go do 4-part hour. Yeah. So 4 parts an hour each. Because I mean, originally Justice League was supposed to be 2 parts anyway. That was the whole plan for the film.
Yeah.
So it was stupid to put it into one anyway. Because clearly the master plan was to have 2 films.
It was thrown together very because once Batman v Superman was Batman v Superman, they panicked and just shoved the script all together, and that was like within like by the time Batman v Superman launched, it was Justice League was supposed to be filming in like literal weeks. So it all had to be very quickly and hastily thrown together as one film, and like with its vision change, so like they had to like make it lighter and more happy.
It just didn't work. It was a mess. They should have just stuck to their guns.
Probably, but
they definitely lost more money by not sticking to their guns than if they had, I think.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Like, especially like again, once like I can't remember the exact number. Was it like 70 to 90, somewhere in that range? Of the film was like reshot with Joss Whedon instead.
Yeah.
Which, like, that yeah, they're better just sticking to their guns with Zack Snyder, regardless of, because that would have, because like it lost so much money, and like those reshoots cost so much.
Yeah, they would have. I think they would have actually made a somewhat profit if they just stuck to their guns,
or wouldn't have lost as much.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was like you're not going to make that much out of this film, like Justice League. It's like you haven't introduced the world to these characters, so they don't care about them. So this is the film where you have to make people care about them, and it's like, well, you don't want to spend as much on that because that's a risk. Because if they don't care, they're not gonna, watch it basically. So
it's like one of the most expensive movies to make. Like I think practically period.
I think ever, yeah, I think
Yeah.
unless you count like the Infinity War Endgame all in one, because obviously they kind of just slump that together and shot at the same time. So it's quite hard to judge how much each one cost.
That whole thing's just a mess. But will it really bring people to HBO Max though? We'll see. I mean, certainly people will watch it for that, but will it keep people?
I doubt it. I doubt it will keep people.
And how are they like? I don't think HBO Max is probably going to be a thing in the UK. So like, what's going to happen there?
It'll be just launched separately, I guess. Some deal
Maybe.
somewhere. But yeah. So obviously, there's that's I'm surprised that Warner Bros doesn't have a streaming service. I guess they kind of just team up with Netflix, really, kind of like Sony Pictures.
I think on I think it's the same parent company, isn't it, for HBO and Warner?
Oh, maybe it is actually. Yeah.
I mean, they might both be owned by AT&T because I know Warner's owned by AT&T. I think that's what it is.
Okay, so
they're both owned by AT&T. So
Warner Bros stuff would go on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I know there's a couple of Warner Bros things on Netflix, but I wonder if they're going to disappear. I mean, the good thing with Netflix is it has a lot of good original series as well, which obviously is built up over time. Stranger Things is still solid. 13 Reasons Why has a big audience. Whether you say it's good or not is different. It's very weird lines. I've watched all 3 series. It's very strange messages they're giving to the watchers. It's an odd one. Kingdom.
I mean,
the Kingdom, or it's called Just Kingdom. I think it's called Just Kingdom. Which is fantastic. That's really good zombie Korean kind of series. It's 2 series of 6 episodes, which makes it really easy to kind of binge watch quickly. So freaking good, and like kind of different kind of style zombies, which are kind of, I guess you could call them realistic zombies, I guess, in the ways that they act. Kind of as, I'd say they're my second favorite to the 28 Days Later zombies, which are definitively the best. They're the scariest fucking zombies. That 28 Days Later, they just, oh man. And I mean, 28 weeks later, that opening sequence, it's just how violent they fucking are. And it's not like they really want to eat you. They just kind of more hurt you. Is more just, they just rage. They're filled with rage, basically. It's fucking awesome. So awesome. Yeah, so
Castlevania is exceptional as well. I love Castlevania.
That's on the watch list. Obviously the Marvel Netflix series were somewhat good, but obviously they're gone now. Probably for the better. They weren't getting better.
No,
I did drop off watching
I think
them.
that's the whole Marvel entertainment side of it. I think it's probably for the best that was all folded.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I want them to do Daredevil, like just carry on those, like bring those characters in for the Netflix series, the Disney Plus series.
I think from that they're probably. I don't think they're going to do that.
Which is a shame because Charlie Cox is like the perfect Daredevil.
I think they'd probably reboot the whole thing outside of it.
Yeah, which is kind of sad.
And make it definitive. This is the MCU Daredevil.
Yeah, because I mean, it was like, that's the thing. They built it up that it would be, in the MCU, but then they just, Endgame was the time for them to show up, basically.
Well, the deal was probably already on your way out by then. So.
Yeah. Shame. But yeah, I guess, I guess that's the issue. Doctor Who just can never really team up with another parent company because there's just not anything in it for anyone else. Because, I mean, BBC wouldn't make a deal because they've got BritBox, so kind of kills it.
Again, the only way they would was what they did in the TV movie, to where it was another company's produce and they had it for their channel, but of course the BBC got the TV movie after the fact.
Yeah. Which just isn't worth it.
No.
So,
Clearly, as they showed in that,
stuck in this weird limbo. But
Yeah.
there we go. Pretty much it. There's a fly. How the hell did that get in here? It's amazing. Your window's open like the tiniest crack. My window's like open that big, and it somehow managed to get in.
Yeah.
But they can't get out because they're fucking idiots.
It's
I'm just
dumb.
watching them just bashing against the window. Just fly right, man.
Yeah.
That way. Or just
Keep tapping as well.
damn flies.
We're getting wasps in here
oh,
eventually.
I'm lucky I haven't got any wasps. Ugh. Stingy boys. Nah, I'm good. But yeah, I guess that pretty much wraps it up for this week's podcast. There's not much else.
Nope.
So, yeah. Bye.
Bye.